I could be like Sam, for example, and not have a license. It got uncomfortable during the media week where he has to do media, and instead of doing what he needs to do, because it got difficult, he decides to storm out. So what do you think he's going to do in the ring?
Right, I don't need to do any small talk with Mr. Michael off camera because we're going to get straight down to business. So welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for gracing me with your presence.
Thank you for giving me the time.
You're getting used to these now, aren't you?
Yes, fun and games.
I'm waiting for you to start fighting at the top table, because you and Sam, I guess everybody's spoken to you about it. I was sort of like to the back of it. What on earth are you pair going on about? Because I always hear, when I'm gonna stop you there. It always seems every time someone speaks to you, they try to diminish or put down where you are in boxing, because maybe you've just started showing your face now, maybe you've just started getting on stage now, but it's like a little bit of discredit for your position in boxing.
Yeah.
Or am I stirring trouble, Mike?
Listen, I agree. But I don't care about anybody's opinion, if I'm being honest. Only the team that I have around me, you know, those are the guys that any success that I have, I owe to them. Those are my mentors. Those are the only people that I care about their opinion. So the rest of them, I don't care about their opinion. But what I do care about, I care about ethics. I care about the future of the sport. I care about, you know, how I carry myself and how people should carry themselves. So when I see somebody like Daniel Dubois, who's worked extremely hard throughout his entire career since he was, 8 years old. He's dedicated his whole life. And then I see these yes men around him, and these, you know, he may not be able to spot it, but I can spot it. You know, these guys that are there for their own selves, just trying to nick a quid. It's my duty to call it out.
Well then, devil's advocate, because I like to do that. Why wouldn't somebody say the exact same thing about you with your team? What makes you different to them?
Because I could be like Sam, for example, and not have a license. But I spend my money to have a license. So therefore, if something does go wrong with Fabio, he has somebody that he can go to, and I will be held accountable for my actions. And I believe in sport, we should all be held accountable in all walks of life. You should be held accountable for your actions. And again, it just boils down to your ethics and what you believe in. So if I go out of my way to ensure that these things are in place, like he said, he's been in this longer than me. He's way longer than me. He's more experienced than me. He's done this. He's got world champions, blah, blah, blah. Why does he refuse to get a license? There has to be something there, because he doesn't want to be held accountable. So what other practices is he trying to run from and hide from? So, you know, I don't like him. I don't like anything that their team stand for, and I will forever call it out.
The matchmaking of this fight, then, I think it's a great fight. Fair play to Fabio, and I know you've heard this a few times as well, but seriously, fair play to him for taking on Daniel Dubois, former champion himself, as this fight, as a defence. Obviously, we know it's a voluntary, it's not mandatory, is it? No. It was voluntary?
Yeah, voluntary.
So it's by choice?
By choice.
When you look at options that Fabio could have took as a voluntary, talk about the levels that you've stepped up to take this fight rather than some others that you could have had.
Yeah, I think Fabio's articulated it himself, that he wants to fight the best guys that are out there. And that's what he thrives under. He thrives under that competitive nature. And I think if you look at our entire roster, they're all like that. They all have similar traits. It's sink or swim. And Fabio is exactly like that. He wants to sink, or if he wants to or swim. He's not scared of Daniel Dubois, and I don't think there's a reason to be scared of Daniel Dubois. And he wants to, once he finishes, he wants to know within himself that he tried his best and he fought the best guys that are out there. And they say Daniel Dubois is one of the best guys, so we're going to get it on. Listen, Fabio was robbed of a highlight knockout against Joseph Parker. Go rewatch that second round when the referee stopped Joseph Parker from getting stopped with the gum shield situation. So Fabio Wardley would have got him out there and it would have been a whole different conversation. So again, Fabio wants to prove to himself, it's not about anybody else, prove to himself that he's the best and wants to challenge all of those out there that are highly ranked.
The debate we had before we fought Parker, I remember speaking to you and Dean White, and you was like, BoxRec doesn't care how you won.
Yeah.
BoxRec doesn't care how many rounds you down. BoxRec just shows the results.
The result.
Now, often, and I've been in that often, where I thought, oh yeah, the boxer, this, that and the other. But then Fabio has come out and boxed really well. And it almost feels like now I've said, oh, I think I'm going to back Fabio. And now I feel like I'm cursing it because every time I've gone against him or backed the boxer rather than him as the fighter, the puncher, he's always come out on top.
Yeah.
But I feel like all of us, the audience, are kind of swaying now towards Fabio. Listen, I can't say, it's bad luck. But how do you lot feel listening to that, where you're seeing the audience sway to think, you know what, Fabio's going to do it this time?
I don't think Fabio really takes on that energy.
Thank you. That's good to know.
Fabio believes in himself. And if you look at the contrast between the two teams of this week and look at the behaviour of Fabio, how he's remained professional versus Daniel Dubois and him walking out of various interviews and not fulfilling his obligations, that is a telltale sign of somebody that is, that's not something that he normally does. There's something going on inside. But Fabio's been normal. So I think Fabio is not worried about what anybody believes. He just knows within himself that this is a job that he can do, and he is dedicated to getting the job done.
I see where you're going with that, but then some would say, and I know you can't speak for Daniel because you are team Fabio, but some would say Daniel's not one of these guys that is comfortable in front of cameras all the time. And to be fair, he's done a lot more media this time around than he would usually do. So don't you think that would have an adverse effect on somebody that doesn't like to be in front of the camera?
So what you're basically saying is when it got uncomfortable,
I knew he was going to do this.
He quit, right? So it got uncomfortable during the media week where he has to do media. And instead of doing what he needs to do, because it got difficult, he decides to storm out. So what do you think he's going to do in the ring? You have to look at people's behavior and the traits of their behavior. It's not just about what you do in the ring. It's about how you live outside of the ring. It's about how you carry yourself outside of the ring. This sport is not just a physical sport. It's a mental sport as well. Look, I think he said one thing, and their 15 team members was jumping up like hyenas and screaming. It's just, they need to give him that confidence. They need to have 3 people on stage with him. I call them his carers. They need to have his carers out there to make sure that he stays in tune and he does what he's supposed to do. So again, look, it's all fun and games. I can say all of this, but Fabio's got to do the job. I believe in Fabio 100%, and I think what we've seen this week is what we're going to see in the ring. It's going to get tough. It's going to get difficult, and Dubois is going to choose to quit.
Professionalism in the sport, something which I've seen that you've demonstrated a few times. And one of the things I'm going to bring up is the fact of Lawrence Okoli recently bringing up an adverse result in his testing for his fight that he should have had against Tony Yoka, part of the Dubois team, if you want to look at it like that. One of the things that you could have done, because I put up things about you on my social media, and there's been a couple of people that have tried to go at you in my socials, and this could have been a perfect opportunity for you to say something that you wanted. I think Lawrence put up a birthday celebration for Dillian where he mocked him fighting Tete, where he mocked obviously positive test results. But this time this has come out But you've said absolutely nothing. The professionalism is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, because I've been waiting to see what the results of it, or what the conclusion of the results has been. Lawrence is somebody that has been very loud about Dillian and been wrong. And again, his brother's constant. His brother's got an infatuation with me. I don't know what he does for a living, but he's got far too much time on his hands. He's, like I said, he's always constantly commenting under my videos.
What, on your page?
No, not on other people's page, but I see it. But again, he's a bum. He's got no life. He lives off of his brother's success.
Do you think? Do you really think that's the case?
Success. Yeah, he lives off his brother's success. What is he doing in life? He could never, ever in his life talk to me about achievements. And I don't say it lightly, because I know what I've put in. I know relationships that I've lost because I've focused on bettering myself and wanting to be a better person for my children, be a better person, and somebody that my younger siblings can look up to. I know what it's like to study. I studied for 5 years straight to and put myself in 100 grand of debt, to have the accolades and to be able to back fighters in the right way. Yeah. So when people like him want to speak up, I don't respect him. I don't respect anything that he has to say. And in terms of Lawrence, let's see what the governing board come up with. But there's no excuse for cheating.
But then what if he backfired and said, well, I could say the exact same thing about Dillian? Dillian hasn't. He said that he failed 3 drug tests. Dillian hasn't failed 3 drug tests. Can you put this straight? Put this straight, because this is a lot of comments that I get if I speak to Dillian. Mm-hmm. So just put it straight.
Dillian hasn't failed 3 drug tests. What did they say Lawrence has failed for?
I think it's a growth hormone and a metabolite that comes from, is a derivatory from a growth hormone. So if you've been taking,
he said that it was something to do with, he had an injury in his elbow, and then he decided to take growth for to heal it, or he trusted what his doctor gave him growth, so he didn't know what was in there. The story doesn't add up, and we're gonna see. Like I said, I'm not one to actually I am one to kick somebody on their way down, but I want to do it on my terms, and I will wait. Anytime I've seen Lawrence has been, somewhat respectful.
Yeah, I'd say he's respectful.
It's more that his low life, his brother that does nothing with himself, that is constantly. He's just a fan. But yes, their time will come. Don't worry, we're not gonna stay quiet forever. But like you said, it's about being professional. There's gonna be due process, and let's see what happens. But I can't see him getting out of it, and that 4.5 year ban should be applied, because there is no reason for him to have that in his system. The 4-year ban that should be applied, because there's no reason for him to have that in his system.
Final words then, as a boxing manager, a qualified, certificated boxing manager. If you're looking for a fighter, if there's fighters watching this that are thinking, maybe I need a new team, maybe I need someone to push me, what does your management team look for in fighters, and how can they contact you?
Yes, they can contact me on Mike Offo on Instagram. But I guess, I think every fighter is different, right? And you've got to have that drive and that want to be better, to reach the top of the mountain. And you've got to be willing to learn and to trust the process. A lot of fighters don't trust the process. Any fighter that has left us, go and look how their career has gone compared to Fabio Wardley. Go and look at the money that Fabio Wardley has made, and go and look at the purses that they have got. Go and look at the money that Dillian Whyte has made. Go look at the money that they have made. Go and look at Dillian Whyte's lifestyle, Fabio Wardley's lifestyle, and go and look at their lifestyle. You have to trust the process. So for us, it's not just about, oh, who's the best out there. What's your story? You know, we like people that are, we've not gone and chased these Olympians. We look for guys that have a story, that want to progress, that want to change their life. When we started doing this, we didn't start doing this because of money. We started doing this because there's a need and for help. There's a need for people that are going to do things the right way and are gonna not all money is good money. Not all money is good money. The amount of time we've turned down things, we turn down 10 times more things than we accept because it's not necessarily coming from the right place. So it's just somebody that's willing to trust the process, that's willing to learn. Like we have Fawaz Aberodi, but we call him Blaggis, from Scotland. A young kid. This guy calls me 3-4 times a day because he wants to learn. He wants to fight. He trains hard. He's dedicated, you know. We've got a young kid called Aaron Noriega from LA. Again, another kid out there that constantly calling me because he wants to learn, he wants to progress, he wants to know what's going on with his career. He's seen what Fabio's done, he's inspired. You know, we have Thomas Carty, who wants to be involved in big fights. So we've got an amazing team. I've got great guys behind me, and they hold me accountable as well. So, you know, it's if you want to get in touch, you get in touch. But again, if it's not the right fit for us, it's not going to work. It's a two-way street.
Two-way street. And on that note, I'm going to leave you to it. Thank you very much for your time. All the best on Saturday. And I think the fight is quite rightly named, Don't Blink. Don't Blink.
It's going to end in 3 or 4 rounds, and still Fabio Wardley.